It's hard to explain why Lavia's turned it down. It's hard to explain why Caicedo turned it down, honestly, but we've been done twice. It is what it is. What is up, guys? It's James from CopLogic. Welcome back to the channel, and today we've got yet another transfer saga to dive into, so make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with everything going on, and let's jump into the news. So, it was first reported this morning by JacobSteinberg that Liverpool have agreed a 60 million deal to sign Romeo Lavia from Southampton. He goes on to say, though, that they must still convince the midfielder to choose them over Chelsea. Now, before you get too excited, it looks like that's not going to be the case. Looks like he has definitely chosen Chelsea, as it was reported last night by Dave O'Cop that Chelsea are also set to sign Romeo Lavia, and further reports suggested the player had arrived in London over the weekend to celebrate his move with friends. Dave O'Cop went on to report this morning that reliable sources say Lavia prefers Chelsea due to his relationship with Joe Shields, which is Chelsea's sporting director. Previously worked in a similar role at Southampton, so there's obviously a previous relationship there, and he's managed to convince the player to choose a move to Chelsea. First of all, let's talk about this situation. Liverpool have only got themselves to blame. 60 million instead of 50 million. We could have had this deal wrapped up weeks ago for the 50 million we knew Southampton wanted. For the sake of saving 4 to 5 million, we refused to do that deal. We went in for Caicedo. Honestly, we messed with the wrong guy in Todd Bowley. We lost out on Caicedo, and we forced Chelsea during the whole Caicedo saga to move on Romeo Lavia, and it seems like they've won him as well. So we've lost out on both players, and not only that, but we even went back to the table and had a bid accepted for 60 million, which is frankly embarrassing considering we wouldn't pay the 50 in the first place. Been absolutely embarrassed by Chelsea and gone back to Southampton with a 60 million offer and got embarrassed by Chelsea again. This whole recruitment window has been an absolute catastrophic series of errors that was completely avoidable weeks ago by just dropping the 50 million on Romeo Lavia. The 50 million Southampton have been asking for this entire time. We've been chasing this player this entire window. We'd sold him on the dream. Lavia was desperate to come to Liverpool. His family wanted him to come to Liverpool, and honestly, this whole situation's probably given him second thoughts. I mean, we literally dropped him at the last minute to move on Caicedo, lost out on Caicedo, and now we've lost out on Lavia as well. And the worst part is, we know Chelsea have already agreed the 115 million 9-year contract with Moises Caicedo, so for the second time in a week, we've lost out on another player to Chelsea. And by the way, that deal, 115 million 9-year contract, is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't even say that out of a place of bitterness. That is a ridiculous contract. 9 years is crazy. 115 million for Moises Caicedo is stupid. 110 million was stupid, and I wish we'd never offered it, because we'd at least have Romeo Lavia at 50 million right now. Instead, that move to try and hijack Caicedo has cost us both targets. It's hard to say who's to blame for this. Like, obviously the money was there from FSG. A lot of people are going to point towards FSG, but they were willing to drop 110 million on Caicedo, so the money's there. I don't know who's been in charge of this recruitment, really. Like, is this down to Billy Hogan? Is it down to Jörg Schmatke? Or is it down to Jurgen Klopp? I don't know whose decision it was not to push the 50 million for Lavia originally. I don't know whose decision it was to walk away from Kefren Turam. There's just been a catalogue of errors in this window, and it's a shambles. For a window that started so well, you know, we brought in McAllister very early, we brought in Szoboszlai very early, and you were thinking, we've got this entire window left still. The rebuild is well and truly on. Who's coming in next? We can even get these players in before pre-season. They're going to get a full pre-season. The season's already started. We've still only got those same two players in, and we've got a massive gap in the central midfield. For me, a Liverpool move still makes more sense for Romeo Lavia than Chelsea. It's too late now anyway. As Ian Doyle reported this morning, Liverpool believe Romeo Lavia will join Chelsea, so it's time for Liverpool to start looking at other targets. I don't really understand the move from Lavia's perspective. He's going to struggle to get into that Chelsea side, not least because of the acquisition of Moises Caicedo. Unless Chelsea decides to play a double pivot of defensive midfielders with Caicedo and Lavia. This seems like a silly move, but they've probably offered him stupid wages that he didn't want to turn down, and he's obviously been convinced by Joe Shields as well. Liverpool seems like the perfect move for any defensive midfielder, really. There's obviously a hole in the team, and anyone coming in is going to go straight into first team football for Liverpool Football Club. It would be a huge move for anyone. It's hard to explain why Lavia's turned it down. It's hard to explain why Caicedo turned it down, honestly, but we've been done twice. It is what it is. The problem now is where Liverpool go after Lavia. Without Lavia, the list of targets becomes ever smaller, and the window deadline drawing closer means players are going to become more expensive. Clubs are going to take advantage. The worst part is clubs know that we're desperate now, and they also know how much money we've got because this saga with Caicedo has been so public, and that's a really bad combination of things. Clubs knowing that we're desperate and knowing how much money they can sting us for. If Liverpool are looking for Premier League experience, for me, Cheick Doucouré is the best plan B. He's got that year's Premier League experience with Crystal Palace. His stats do look very good, to be honest with you, and he's only 23 years old. It's a little bit older than the 19-year-old Romeo Lavia, who obviously would have been the perfect move for Liverpool at this stage. Doucouré's got the first team football experience in the Premier League, and he's fairly young at 23 years old. For me, that's the move that makes sense if Liverpool are desperate for Premier League experience. But unfortunately, there have been links this morning to João Palhinha, who at 28 years old stinks of desperation to me. I don't think he's a bad player. I actually think he's a good player, but at 28 years old, it's not future-proofing, it's stopgap filling. And Liverpool Football Club should be above that, but this is the situation that we've put ourselves in. João Palhinha, for me, it just reeks of desperation. The silver lining potentially is that reports have dropped this afternoon that Liverpool have inquired about the situation of Aurelien Tchouameni and Frederico Valverde. The Madrid midfielders are of serious interest to the club, and the Spanish club is likely to make one available. Now, this is an odd report because, first of all, though these are both two great players, Frederico Valverde is not even a 6. He's not a defensive midfielder, and we've already bought 2 central midfielders in McAllister and Szoboszlai. So if that was the move we went, I'm not really sure where we go. Do we make McAllister a 6? Obviously, he played in the 6 on the weekend, and he played in the 6 in the preseason friendly. So is that the plan? That feels like detrimental to McAllister, and you're not getting the best out of the player either. And if you're not going to do that, then there's really no point getting Federico Valverde, because if we're going to end up sticking someone like Curtis Jones in the 6 regardless, well, we've already got Szoboszlai and McAllister, so we don't really need Valverde. So that link doesn't really make much sense to me. Obviously, Aurelien Tchouameni is a defensive midfielder and a top talent. That would be the perfect outcome in all of this. If somehow that move happened, that would be the silver lining. The difficulty I'm seeing here is Liverpool have already inquired about Tchouameni previously in this very window, and were told no immediately by Real Madrid. And not only that, when he went to Real Madrid, we were scouting him at the same time, and he actually rejected Liverpool to go to Real Madrid. So the chances of that changing and Tchouameni coming to Liverpool in this window seems slim to me. This seems like a pipe dream. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I just can't see that happening. It seems like Liverpool are lining themselves up for a hat-trick of rejections within a week. The whole situation is it's just embarrassing. It's just so embarrassing. I don't really know what the best outcome is anymore. Obviously, Romeo Lavia, it looks like he's set for Chelsea. For me, obviously the top target would be Aurelien Tchouameni, but I just cannot see that happening. If it happened, it's a silver lining, and I think we just draw a line under all this and move on. The best plan B, for me, it's Cheick Doucouré. If we end up with João Palhinha, it's an absolute travesty of a window. And this whole situation needs looking at. Either our recruitment staff or sporting director, or it's time to just say FSG. You don't know what you're doing at the club, and it's time to go. Whatever way this goes, it's been a travesty of a window, and the blame has to fall somewhere, and something has to be done fast, because I don't even recognise what's going on at this club anymore. Losing Michael Edwards has been detrimental to Liverpool Football Club. We can see that now. And Julian Ward on top of that. We're just in a mess. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know who you'd look at next after Romeo Lavia. Give the video a like, get your thoughts down in the comments, and as always, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.